story. This is Captain America 254, which is a story about life and love and what it means to be a man in the 20th century. Our creative team of Roy Sternman and Jason Byrne deliver this second and final part of their Barry Blood story, which, while being a tremendous issue, starts off the proceedings with a real bum note. And in my opinion, the worst moment of their short run on Captain America. We ended the first part with this iconic image of Barry Blood having mesmerised Captain America, and he is about to sink his big fangs into Captain America's neck and suck off all of his blood. It was a terrific cliffhanger, mainly from how powerful the image of a hypnotised Captain America with a creepy Dracula about to chomp on his neck was. But here we do a very quick U-turn where Captain America is fine. His costume protected him, and then he breaks out of his trance, and then he does some twists and turns. I didn't like this. I think it is cheap, and it feels dishonest to leave the previous issue on that moment if it so patently wasn't an actual threat. Then Kenneth, son of Firespit and grandson of the original Jack Staff, he comes in waving a lamp around. And I think this is annoying because if you rearranged things, this is what I feel would have been a better payoff to the cliffhanger. They are interrupted by Kenneth, which breaks Barry Blood's hold over Captain America. And then the idea of Captain America about to be sucked off doesn't lose any sense of emergency. I explained Kenneth in the review of part 1, but I will get a bit more into the mantle of Jack Staff this time. Jack Staff was introduced in Invaders, and the original Jack Staff fought in the First War. Some call it a Great War. Not me, it was just alright. Shit, isn't that a Ricky Gervais bit? He was once a big influence on me, but now I would rather deny that. The original Jack Staff came out of retirement during World War II to battle his nemesis Barry Blood alongside the Invaders. Barry Blood is actually his brother, and I am waiting for that Invaders omnibus, if it's ever fucking released, to talk about the artist of the Invaders. But I do love how comically evil Barry Blood's human guise is. During the fight, Jack Staff was injured and forced back into retirement, and his daughter Firespit was bitten by Barry Blood, and a blood transfusion from the original Human Fire transformed her into a superhuman. Later on, we got Jack Staff's son and Firespit's brother. He became the second Jack Staff, and he is the one who served on the invaders during World War II. He was also notably gay. He was gay, and he was gay with Dynamite Destroyer. And didn't be commenting that this cover of them fighting isn't technically Dynamite Destroyer. It is pretty much the only image of these two heroes in costume together that I could find without anyone else. I think it is actually this story that tells us the second Jack Staff died off panel in a car crash. So currently, the Jack Staff mantle is up for grabs. And Kenneth, as you can see here, isn't cut out for it. But we also have Kenneth's friend Joey, who was set up slightly as being a possible suspect when it comes to Barry Blood's current secret identity. We also see here that, unlike Kenneth, Joey is a lot more up for a bit of shirtless wrestling. The kicker is that I went to all that effort to tell you about Jack Staff and Barry Blood and Fire Spit, and then there are 2 pages here that do the job without the need for my now infamous cutaways. One thing is that over the years, Kenneth and Joey swapped air. Much like in the Invaders story, Barry Blood's secret identity is an obvious disguise. But I want to talk about some of the sequels to this story. First and foremost, there is a 3-issue Jack Staff miniseries from 1997, which I love. It continues a lot of the stuff from this story. Joey, Kenneth, Fire Spit, they're all there. Great art for it too. And the writer is... In the 90s, there was a large contingent of editors who decided they could be writers. And I always felt the guy writing Jack Staff was the cream of that crop. He was a decent mid-tier writer. And the Jack Staff miniseries is great. After that, there is a direct sequel to that miniseries in 2 issues of New Invaders. I was ganning to cover both these during the week of Halloween, but the break I had to take made it so that I didn't have enough time to cover this Captain America story first. And it is basically essential. Then there is a story in Captain Britain and MI13 called Dracula State, which I would consider a true sequel to this Captain America story, because there is a cliffhanger in 1 issue and then a pullback reveal to get out of it that is 20 times worse than the one in this issue. We also have that XL storyline, which I will be looking at the conclusion of on Monday. Halloween itself. Spooky. There is some nice payoff with Kenneth in that, which is why I wanted to cover this story beforehand. I also should mention there is one that I haven't read, which is The Knights of Penzance. There is a Barry Blood story in that. That is another omnibus that keeps getting delayed. Oh, I will explain Jack Staff cosplaying as NFL Super Pro in about 3 minutes. If anyone thinks that the cutaways are distracting from the comic that I am reviewing, I would probably be talking about all the same stuff even without them. They are mostly an afterthought and sometimes used to insert little breaks in my recording. But if you look at me art videos, I often do go over character history or my experiences with them or what other stories you can see them in. I admit it does unfortunately mean that you didn't get to see the comic for as long as you used to. Here we have the preparations for the final battle with Barry Blood. The original Jack Staff, now an hard man in a wheelie chair. He has outfitted himself again and is ready to fight. And Firespit is considering putting on her hard togs as well. And the plan is for Jack Staff to act as bait for Barry Blood. And then it turns out that he is spry and agile because they have done a far better bait and switch than any of that Dracula State story. This isn't Hardman Jack Staff. This is the next generation of Jack Staff, and he is ready to kick Barry Blood ass. Together with Captain America, the two flag-wearing heroes fight Barry Blood. And one thing I like about Jack Staff is that he feels more an actual Captain America to Britain than Captain Britain does. I was originally going to talk about that in this video, and how poorly represented I feel most of England is in Marvel Comics. But I think that might be a better discussion for one of Jack Staff's solo comics. I didn't want to distract from this great story built on Ard Invader's comics and done wonderfully by Roy Sternman and Jason Byrne. There is that advert for a run that never happened. Last issue had an iconic ending, and so does this one. Captain America, left with no choice, and also because his opponent is already dead and just a monster now. Captain America decapitates Barry Blood with his shield. This is an amazing scene, but I feel that it is one that some stupid people look at wrongly, and they think that it is cool just because Captain America chopped off a bad guy's head. We also learn that the new Jack Staff isn't Kenneth, but is in fact Joey, and he will be Jack Staff to this day, and I really like the character. After this, it takes a while for him to really get some focus again. He makes cameo appearances in stuff like Conquest of Champagne, but when they do finally get back to him, it is in Knights of Penzance, where he is a bit mangled. He is transformed into a magically super strong Captain Britain cosplayer, and then he gets redesigned again by David Allens, and the redesign is one of the worst things ever conceived. I'll hopefully get more into that stuff if those omnibuses ever come out. We end with this nice Jack Staff page. The original Jack Staff also passed away during the ruckus, and now it is up to Joey to keep the dream alive. Only a first-class moron would not recommend this Captain America story arc. It is a great Captain America story. It is a great Invader As story. It is a great Jack Staff story. It is a great comic book story in general. This is what good comics smell like. And they smell like oxygen. 7 thumbs up.